Hello, and welcome to this episode of Exploring with Jennyo. I am here at the magnificent Stone Mountain getting ready to view the Native American powwow, which takes place here every single year in November. Stay tuned. Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing?
Put it down here. Watch mommy.
When the Spaniards took the gold, the pheasant has a gold sheen to it. It was a way for us to reclaim that gold, to reclaim that adornment. Though it may not seem, it was very symbolic for the Aztec culture. You'll always see, for the most part, when you look at Aztec dancers, these long, beautiful feathers, but they are not native to our culture. They're an adaptation due to the adornment that was once taken and us reclaiming that adornment. There's other symbols for the feathers. For example, the length of the feather, the longer they are, the more energy you can project. Feathers are considered a source of projecting the energy that we put out there. It's also a way to receive the energy that you as the patrons give us. The kids wear different types of feathers. They all have feathers. Liliana has some pink feathers. These are pink flamingo feathers. William has them white with green feathers. Those are natural cockatoo feathers. Aaliyah has all pheasant feathers, different kinds. She actually has dyed red feathers and dyed blue feathers. They're all being pheasant feathers. You'll also notice that they don't have the really long feathers, and they don't have the macaw feathers either. There's a reason for that. The reason is that these are earned feathers, and they're not allowed to carry those feathers until they reach the age of 15. Once the kids reach the age of 15, then they can start porting these types of feathers, these long feathers and the macaw feathers. And all that also depends on how much time they've been in the circle, what they have done for the circle, how much have they learned, have they really adapted, do they understand the culture, do they understand the tradition, do they honor the circle. These are all important things. As we raise our children, we raise them with that in mind. One day they do want to carry these feathers, but for them to do that, there has to be a level of maturity and understanding. Thank you so much. We're going to continue. We're going to do a dance. Do you want to do crowd participation? Perfect. So, request, we want to do crowd participation. That means we want to invite you in the circle. And we saw a couple of dancers over there. There was a little kid I saw that was just going bananas, and I'd love for her to come in. So I am calling her out already over there. There you go. She's getting scared. That's funny. She's all right. She loved hearing the drum. But we'd like to get more volunteers, please. If you'll come up over here, we're going to teach you a quick dance. I promise it's very easy. It's very easy to do. All ages are welcome. Do not be shy. All ages, young and mature alike. Come join us, and we're going to teach you a quick dance. Yeah, don't cross the rope. Just come over here. All right. All ages are welcome.
I'll do it with you.
All right, the cute one is coming. All right, guys, go circle up too. All right, guys, back up a little bit, okay? Just a circle. This looks more like an egg or something. A circle. Perfect. All right, let's make it some room. All right, pay attention to Miss Felicia. She's in the center of the circle, and she will teach you the dance. Okay, we're going to do this slow so that you guys can get the dance step. It's very basic. It's very fun. Audience, you cheer them on. All right, so now we're going to do this. This seems to be pretty easy, right? You guys got it? Seem pretty confident? Perfect. We're going to do this in real time. Audience, please cheer them on. Give a big round of applause to start. All right, guys. You ready? All right, let's do this. You may exit the arena. Big round of applause. For all of us. So this is my Yahuel. This is to the deity of fertility.
Hello there.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Is it okay for me to record? Or?
Oh, yeah, I don't care. As long as I don't break your phone.
Oh, no, you're not going to break my phone.
Good afternoon. We are peoples of the Eastern Woodlands.
Oh.
And we're from north up near the Great Lakes, and we came down here to share our camp and get a little warm with the Southern Woodlands. And we have examples of everything that we're doing in our camp. Foods we catch, way over here to the right, I don't know if you want to see. Foods we've caught, we've hunted, or we gathered, or we grew. We would hunt deer, we would catch fish, we would gather blueberries and nuts and sunflowers, make a nice little treat out of sunflower cakes right down here with maple syrup, and corn we would grow and grind the corn and cornbread and trade goods. And then if you come over to the left, we have our trade gun and bow and arrow and hawks and knives and tools to survive with. And right here, and then we have fire. We're drying some fruits and vegetables for the winter months for our food. And we have our campfire, and I am cooking sumac because I'm going to dye naturally, and I'm going to cook the sumac, and the sumac dye is going to make this beautiful gray colors and even a purple cloth. And I've dyed with goldenrod, and these are walnuts dyeing. And then my brother here is making things out of leather, a pair of moccasins, and I've woven these things right here. Finger weaving with my fingers, and I'm gonna beat this and make this into cordage and weave it and make a rope, and I'm weaving a cattail match right here. And this is a conical that we live in because we have the Eastern Woodlands, and we slept on the ground with a blanket, and the pine straw was a mattress.
Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
I love your shirt. That's gorgeous.
Thank
It's really
you.
cool.
Thank you.
I was gonna put light ties on, and I saw a couple squirrels over there. That's what happens to me.
There's a lot of squirrels in her life.
And I forgot. Oh, here they are. And I got this coat off of Virginian, and he's not gonna need it much longer. And I got his wife's shoes too, but I didn't wear them today. I'll wear them on Sunday.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you? How are you? I forgot my leg ties. So I'm gonna put another pair on. I don't know where the other ones are.
Powwows didn't even become popular until Dances with Bulls made it so. I call it the Dances with Bulls syndrome.
Yeah.
We need a good movie again.
And you know, he roasted pumpkin seeds over an open fire.
How you guys doing? Look at that.
Boy, you got you coming, and now we're actually participating.
You got a bear, didn't you? Did you see my bear?
You do a rock over
You guys have a good day.
You too. We'll see you in a little bit.
You see my bear? You can touch her. See there?
It was yummy.
It was.
It's yummy.
You know what's amazing? Like this a lot.
Come on, let's get our picture today. You're welcome. Did you girls see my stove? What's it made of? Rock. Right? It's a rock. Look. Stove get hot, yeah. Here. Float bar. Float bar.
Y nosotros bajar. Oye, cooking. This is a chicken.
Oh, yeah. Fish, chicken.
Colonies. We are hungry. Thank you.
We live by rivers. English called my tribe the Creeks, as we live by rivers here in Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. Well, we were fishermen. We were also farmers too. Let me do a little program. How about that?
Each day, some gold. I had goals for used to tell them a school gift. Chocolate cannolis. Each day. Hello to American Festival. I said hello to you in one of the oldest languages ever spoken here on our land. The language of the Muskogees, which is an ancient tribe that lived right here in Georgia. My family, my mother's family, is from the Muskogee people. When the English came into our villages, they brought nice things to trade with us. We started to speak their words. English called my tribe the Creeks because we lived by the rivers and by the creeks. Tribe of Georgia never ever lived in a teepee. Our houses that we lived in were very permanent. We did not move around in teepees. That's a movable home. The teepee lodges that you see in the field out there, they represent the tribes on the prairie, on the plains out west. Out there they were constantly moving, following the buffalo. The original teepees were made of buffalo skins, but then as canvas was brought out to the west with tents and coverings of wagons, well, canvas was much lighter than buffalo skins. And so the teepee went from weighing about 400 pounds of buffalo skins to 40 pounds in canvas. Something else that made those tribes be able to move quicker was when the horses were introduced back into the Americas by the Spanish in the 1500s, tribes on the western prairie started to adapt to those horses very quickly, and it made it so they could move their encampments very fast. But on the eastern United States here, we also had buffalo. Back behind me here, you see the buffalo skin. Buffalo lived all over the east, from Florida to Maine. We did not follow the buffalo. Here in the east, we were farmers. Farming tribes do not move. They stay in one spot, and they farm their land year after year. How do you like my farming tool? This is what they used to use for planting long before John Deere showed up. Many foods you eat today are foods that natives introduced to the Europeans. Corn, beans, squash, potatoes, pumpkins, sunflowers, strawberries, blueberries, grapes, peppers, avocados, tomatoes, pecans, cinnamon, vanilla, chocolate. Did you kids get a lot of chocolate the other day for Halloween? Yeah? Well, you can thank us later. Guess what I was for Halloween? A cowboy. In those days long ago, our villages had no refrigerators. Our village houses were very permanent. The roofs would be made of grasses, tree bark, sometimes woven mats, sometimes palm leaves. Down where I live in the swamps, we use the leaves of the palms to put on the thatching of the roof. In this area, the Cherokee log home was very similar to a log cabin, but it had a roof made out of tree bark. Now, not little pieces of bark, giant pieces of bark, giant slabs from the trees that they would cut, and they would use it on the roofs like shingles. Walls of a home, sometimes it was open for summer, but sometimes we did build walls. Wattle and daub, weaving sticks, just like my fish trap over there has been made, weaving. And then daub is packing mud over top that dries hard. And those were permanent dwellings. There was no refrigeration, but one of the houses was usually built up on stilts. And it had openings at the bottom to allow smoke from fires to come up and fill the house up, making it a smokehouse. The meat would be hung in there. And the meat, of course, no one in those days from Europe didn't know about smoking the meat. They knew about salting it, but when they came to the Americas, they saw the natives smoking meat and making it into jerky. And so the Spanish called this barbacoa, and today in Georgia, it's a pretty big deal, barbecue. And learning about that method of cooking was done right here in the Americas, in Florida and Georgia and Alabama and the southern tribes. My tribe is the Muskogees. We were made up of lots of little groups. We were Muskogee, Hichiti, Miccosukee, Yuchi, Yamasee, Ocoee, Ofuskee, Kolegi. We are lots of groups. Alabamu. And anyways, all the rivers in Georgia and Alabama was the names of our tribes. Later, the English gave us that nickname, the Creeks. I'd like to teach everyone how to say hello in the Muskogee language. Would you like to learn it? Because everywhere I go, people come up and they go, how? And I say, yeah, I know how. Would you like to learn? Because we don't say how. All of our tribes speak different languages. We didn't call ourselves Indians. That's a name Columbus gave us when he thought he was in India, I guess. Anyways, we call ourselves by the names of our tribes. The word Native American, that's no more correct than the word Indian. The word America got its name from Amerigo's Vespucci, a map maker who wrote his name on the maps. And so we call ourselves by the names of our tribes. My tribe is Muskogee, and if you say hello to a Muskogee, it goes like this. Hinchjay.
Hinchjay.
Come on, everybody. Hinchjay.
Hinchjay.
Anybody that doesn't say Hinchjay, it means you're not friendly. Hinchjay.
Hinchjay.
You see those scalps up there? That's what happens to people who's not friendly. Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't worry. We don't take scalps anymore. But back the way I'm dressed 200 years ago at the end of the Creek Wars, boy, we were scalping people then. But nowadays, we just get you into the casino. You can keep your scalp. We'll scalp the wallet. What's in your wallet? Now, I am dressed from 200 years ago, and by that time, lots of things had changed in our villages. Lots of things had changed. Instead of living off of what nature gave us, we started relying on trading posts like you see behind me over here. And so our tribe began doing lots and lots of trade. And so originally, nature gave us what we wanted. We would go to quarry sites with our hammers, and we would bust down the rocks, the flints, and break them, and so we could carry them back to our villages. Once they were back at the village, the older people of the tribe would sit around and chip on those rocks. And they learned to hit that rock just right to break it the way they wanted to break. Little pecking stones, and sometimes even the antler of a deer was used to push on the edge to pop those flakes off and shape that rock to what they wanted it to be. And today people find things like this all over Georgia. This is evidence of our tribe's existence of thousands of years ago. Where you live today, if it's here in Georgia, we once lived there. And not just recently, but thousands of years. We left our evidence behind. Sometimes those rocks were used to make knives. Do you have knives at home? Do they look like these? These blades are made of flint. These handles are made of bone. This one's a deer antler. This one's a jawbone of an alligator. And the tendons of the animal's body for string to tie them together. We also use tomahawks. Everybody say that. Tomahawk.
Tomahawk.
A tomahawk is an axe. But if I go chopping on a hard piece of wood with this axe, it will break. And so I would use fire on the wood first. First I burn the wood, makes it softer and easier for the chopping. And that's how that canoe over there would be made. Now that's just a little one. Some of our canoes were 30 foot long. But we would take the coals from our fire and we would lay it on the log, and when that spot burned out, we would take the coals and scrape them away and chop out the burn spot. When we hit the hardwood, we stop chopping and scrape those coals back on again and keep doing this over and over, burning, chopping, and we would hollow out that log to make a canoe. In the southern United States, our rivers move very slow, and so our canoes were very large, and the ends didn't come way up out of the water. It was very low, and big giant dugout canoes. In the northern United States, where the rivers move quick, they made their canoes using birch bark, and the ends of the canoes came up real high in the front and back because the rivers move much quicker. And so our canoes, we were a lot of times would stand up in the canoe and use a long pole to pull our way through the swamps. And you can see all the fishing equipment over there. I've got fish trap. The fish trap's made of grapevines, and when we would set this down by the rivers, we would take rocks and lay the rocks like a wall, which would guide the fish right into the trap. And once the fish swim inside that trap, sharp spikes in there are facing inward, and that keeps the fish from coming back out that hole he went in. When I'm ready to take the fish out back at the village, we can untie that basket and open up the inside of it and dump out the fish. I have all kinds of fishing hooks. Some of them are made of bone, some of them are carved of shell, and some of them are carved out of wood. And how do you like that alligator over there? Yeah, he's real. This isn't Disney World. This is Stone Mountain. I don't think they have many of them around here, though. But he is real. How do you like that for a spear? That's a gig. And if I see a fish swimming by my canoe, I can spear him. And if I do, this part would stick into that fish, and he would take off swimming, trying to get away. If I yank on the string too quick, it'll rip out and that fish will be gone. But if I let that fish keep swimming, eventually he's going to get tired. And everywhere that fish goes, this float will follow that fish. Whenever I see it just sitting in the water not moving, then it's time to pull in that fish. He's worn out. This is made from a gourd. Everyone say gourd. Gourds were containers that we grew in our garden. In the old days, we used them for canteens. We used them for holding food. You know how you ladies have Tupperware at home? Well, back then it would be a gourd. And gourds were used to hold the food and keep it dry. The corn has been hung in the sun. The sun will dry it. And once it's dried, we'll take it off the cob and store it in gourds. And that'll keep it till wintertime so we can have corn all year long. Other foods would be dried too. The squash and pumpkins would be sliced and a stick would be stuck through it and it would be hung in the sun. The beans would be opened from their shells and laid out on mats until they were dried. Berries were dried. All the food had to be dried. Again, there was no refrigerators. And so drying the food kept it from rotting. When we're ready to use the dried food, we soak it in water and then we can cook it. And if you haven't been back here to see my stove back here I'm cooking on is made out of a rock. One of the oldest type of stoves in the world made of rocks. Well, you'll have to check that out on your own. Let's show you another tool. Everybody say pump drill.
Pump drill.
A pump drill. This is a pump drill. And when I push down on that, it begins to spin back and forth. And this is how we would drill things. Let's say I want to drill into some shells and make some beads or wampum. Maybe I'll make some carvings out of the shells. And so that's how we would do that, using that pump drill. This belt you're about to see is a copy of the one that was carried by our great chief, Tamachichi. He was a chief that met General Oglethorpe upon the naming of Georgia. Originally it was the Spanish who had come here. They named the land Florida. Who are these strangers who have marched into our world? They carry sticks that we have never seen before, that shoot fire and make lightning come out. The gun. They ride beasts we have never seen. The horse. They have other beasts that are strange too. Pigs, cows, chickens, sheep. And as they march into our villages, they stay and eat up all of our winter's food as they look about for yellow rocks of gold. As these men make slaves of us, they leave behind something very deadly, something that travels through the air, and it kills people wherever it goes. Sickness and disease. Our bodies were not used to the sicknesses from across the ocean. We had no medicines for these sicknesses, and it's estimated within the first 100 years of the Spanish coming here, naming this land Florida, that's right here too, this was part of it, that about 50% within 100 years of the natives had died away. Ancient cities like Etowah, where DeSoto visited, would become a ghost town within 100 years. And so the old tribes that were living here, they actually had cities long before Atlanta. You about ready? Okay, I'll finish up. And so cities long before Atlanta were cities like Okmulgee, Kolomoki, Etowah, Moundville. These were places where giant mounds were built as tall as these trees, and hundreds of natives lived there. The chief's house would be on top of that mound, and from that mound they could send out messages, and they could send out signals. These horns could be used to create signals. You know how you have cell phones? Natives had shell phones. Anyways, eventually the Spanish got chased out of this territory. The English coming out of Carolinas began calling us the Creeks and started trading with us. They burnt the missions along the Georgia's coast and chased the Spanish back to St. Augustine. English later came down, General Oglethorpe. They had the redcoats like these girls here. And I see she's got a big old G on her red coat. You must be a general, huh? That's what that means, isn't it? And so, as the English and the redcoats arrived, they named the land Georgia after King George. They started establishing friendship with us. Our chief Tamachichi went to England to meet the king, and he carried a great wampum belt, today a very famous painting of Tamachichi while he was in England. And during this time, he discussed friendship with the English and trade with the English. And so they started bringing in the trading posts. So ladies and gentlemen, I guess you could say that's the first Walmart right there. Yep, all the trade goods. We love those shiny things. We like that pretty cloth. We like that metal tool. Who wants to use a bow and arrow when you can have a gun? And so our tribe started doing lots of trade. And within just 2 or 3 generations, the children stopped living off the land. Boys forgot how to make an arrowhead. Girls forgot how to make a clay cooking pot. And we started relying on the metal cooking pots and the metal tools that made life a lot better. Our tribe had become dependent on the trade. Now what will we have for our money? You're looking at it right here on the bottom of the stage here. You see these deer skins? That's money back then. The deer skin was very valuable across the ocean. And when the English came, they said, hey, bring us those deer skins and we'll trade some of our nice things to you. And so we did. And that was what we used as money. And if you've ever heard of your money called a buck, well, that's how it got its name. And so the deer skin was the money. And the buck skin was the bigger of the two, the buck and the doe. And so it was worth a little bit more. Eventually the deer started to run out. When all the tribes realized the deer skin was money, they all started hunting the deer. And not just to feed their families now, it was just so they could get some shiny thing to wear around their neck. Those deer skins could buy anything we wanted, as long as we had enough of them. To get a knife, it would only cost 1 deer skin. To get a striker to make fire, somebody say that, striker. Watch this. When I hit that flint, it sparks. Now who wants to rub sticks together when you can carry that in your pouch? And so we started using these things. 1 deer skin would buy quite a few of those strikers. But if I have a gun, and I want a gun, it takes about 50 deer skins to get that gun. And later in my program, I'm going to shoot off one of my guns. Would you like to see me shoot a gun? Yeah. Now my scheduled programs today are at 1:30 and 3:30. And right now we've got a storyteller that's about to come up and tell some stories. And so I'm going to conclude right now. And then later on today I'll be telling the story of the weapons and how weapons went from stabbing spears to throwing spears to paddles to arrows that shot from a bow to the gun. And we're going to fire off one of the old guns today. When the deer skins ran out here in Georgia, our tribe started trading their land away. A little bit here and a little bit there. And that would lead to great wars later on here in Georgia over the land. Well, today we're all friendly and we're glad you're here with us at the powwow. Are you having a good time? Yeah!
Well, some of you sound like you're having fun, but a lot of you sound like you'd rather go home and play with the TV tribe. You want to hang with the TV tribe, or you want to hang with the real natives? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out. In our language, we don't say goodbye. Hadam bihijakle, until we meet again. May you have a good trail. May your journey be well. If you'd like to come over to our encampments and get pictures, we have everything set up. You can come back and take a look up close. And right now we have Tammy, our storyteller, who is about to come up here and tell us some great stories of our tribes. You know, we have lots of legends and lots of stories that tell how things came to be. Maybe you've heard some of these stories growing up, or maybe you haven't. So check it out. She's going to tell you how things came to be.